First of all, shalom from Jerusalem to everybody. And it is my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Eytan Cohen Yanarocak. His last name is Turkish. The first three are clearly Jewish. He's an expert on Turkish politics and foreign policy, Turkish-Israeli relations, the Kurds. He received his PhD from Tel Aviv University. He is a co-editor of Turkish Scope, a publication of the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle East and African Studies at Tel Aviv University. And of course, he is a member, research fellow, senior research fellow at the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. And Chai, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Efraim, for this distinguished forum. Good morning, everyone from Israel. I hope you are doing well. First of all, I just wanted to say a few words about the regarding this latest Turkish elections, and then in order to show you what really went there, so I will show you some maps and statistics, etc. So everything will be more visual for you. First of all, I would like to mention that Mr. Erdogan is in power since 2002. His party, Justice and Development Party, acquired the majority in the Turkish parliament in 2002, and himself became Turkey's prime minister in 2003. And since then, he was never defeated in any general elections in Turkey. In 2017, he turned Turkey into a presidential state and acquired very wide jurisdictional powers, which lacks checks and balances. And since then and until today, he served as Turkey's president. And on May 14th, we had another elections, and also last Sunday we had the second round. And against all surveys, Mr. Erdogan once again won the elections. There were two important factors that Mr. Erdogan lacked in them, which were handling of the earthquake issue. He could not provide humanitarian aid within 48 hours, which was very critical, and that's why his public popularity began to decrease. And the second, and in my opinion, the most important issue was the deteriorating Turkish economy. When Erdogan came to power, $1 was equal to 1.1 Turkish liras. Today, $1 is equal to 20 Turkish liras. So we are seeing the erosion of the Turkish lira. The power of purchase of the Turkish citizens are eroding. And of course, that's why the early surveys before the elections predicted a landslide victory for Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. I also would like to make an emphasis on Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Including this latest elections, he was defeated by Erdogan 6 times. Okay, so he was not a new candidate. But because of this very special circumstances that derived from the earthquake and the deteriorating Turkish economy, many people believe that even if Kılıçdaroğlu will run against Erdogan, he will win. In my opinion, the most important disadvantage of Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu was his religious identity. He is not a Sunni Muslim, but he is an Alevi. The Alevi faith is an offshoot of Shiite Muslim. It's a sort of a synthesis of paganism and Shiite Islam. And in the eyes of the Shiites and in the eyes of the Sunnis, this is considered as a heretic faith. where the women and men are dancing together while worshiping to God. Okay, and we have musical instruments and pictures of Caliph Ali in their house of worship. Okay, so in Turkey, approximately we have 20 million people of Alevi faith, and Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is one of them. So why am I stressing this? Because the liberal Turks, they do tend to vote for Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu even if he's an Alevi. But the Turkish presidential system, the election system um, dictates that in order to be victorious in this campaign, you need to receive more than 50% of the vote. Okay, it means that you have to steal some votes from the other camp, okay, if you want to be victorious. And in this regard, because of his religious identity and because of the previous defeats, okay, and because of his fragile alliance, that the only glue of his fragile alliance was only not Erdogan, that particular alliance was backed by the Kurds from outside. But when you look inside, it was it was radical Islamists, moderate Islamists, seculars, nationalists, and this all pact was backed by the Kurds from outside. So it was a very fragile one. Many people believe that they could not bring any stability to Turkey. They are not capable of taking decisions in an efficient way. And as a result, when I'm putting all of these factors right and I'm adding them, the sum is Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu did receive a very high amount of votes, but it was again not enough to steal the votes of the conservative, religious, pious Muslim who is living in central Anatolia or in eastern Anatolia. And in this regard, even if they were not very much pleased by Erdogan, these people, because of their own identity, chose to vote for Mr. Erdogan once again. Now, I would like to show you. I would like to show you a presentation. I hope that you can see the map. Please tell me if you see the map.
Yeah, we see the map.
Yeah, sure.
You see, okay, this is the fault line map of Turkey. Okay, this is the earthquake map. I just wanted to show you first of all the devastation of the earthquake, and then I will get into the recent maps of the elections. As you can see here, I hope that you see my arrow here, cursor. This is the fault line that the latest earthquake occurred, and this is the place, the center of the earthquake, Kahramanmaraş province. This whole province is considered as a very, very, very conservative religious Muslim, pious Muslims. Okay, so many secular Turks believe that because of the destruction and because of the lack of capability of the Turkish government in the first 48 hours, many people will get mad at the government and will vote for the opposition. Okay, I would like to show you the devastation that you can understand how all of these buildings like Lego bricks they fell apart. Okay, and I'm only showing you so that you can understand the devastation. This is a highway, and also
We don't see anything.
Cannot see anything.
No.
No.
Just a second. Once again, please let me know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yeah, but okay.
Okay, so this is the city, okay? That was devastated. Please tell me if you are not seeing, okay? Otherwise, I assume that you are seeing it. This is a highway that was severely damaged by the earthquake. And look at this. This is something incredible. This is an agricultural field. This is this site and this side was once upon a time was together. I mean, these two sides were together, and it was in the same field. Only because of the earthquake, you see, now you have to build here bridges in order to unite both of the sides. This is the same agricultural field. Okay, this is the I brought this to you so that you can understand how strong was the earthquake. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the earthquake region. Okay, in the earthquake region, the only province that voted in for Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu was Hatay. Okay, but in Hatay also the victory was a slight one. As you can see here, here all of the shores once again in a traditional way voted for Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu, and also the eastern parts of Turkey, which are densely populated by the Kurds. Again, thanks to this alliance with the Kurds, all of the eastern provinces voted for Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu. The most important issue was, of course, Istanbul and Ankara. There was a non-written law in the Turkish politics. Whoever is getting Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir will get whole Turkey. And I would like to show you another map here, and you'll understand why we had such a law. Please look at the population density. As you can see here, Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir, they have the highest population density. Of course, we did see...
Here, Istanbul. This is Izmir.
Okay, this is Istanbul, this is Izmir, and this is the capital Ankara, okay? And as you can see, this is the population density. So whoever is controlling these three provinces, it was said that will also control Turkey. However, in this election, since the victories of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu in Istanbul and in Ankara was with a slim margin, so it did not make a huge difference for the first time in the entire Turkish political history. Okay, so I'm going back to this map. Okay, so as you can see here, this was the first presidential elections first round. I also would like to emphasize here, in the same day, we had in the same room another ballot box. Okay, the Turks voted with two different envelopes on two different ballot boxes. One was for the elections of the president, and another one was for the parliamentary elections. And in the parliamentary elections, as you can see, he acquired the majority in Istanbul and in Ankara, and he always loses in Izmir because it is considered as a secular stronghold. But please look at the parliamentary composition. In parliament, we have 600 seats, okay? And as you can see here, I really hope that you see my cursor. Mr. Erdogan's alliance, as you can see, AK Party is the Justice and Development Party. Okay, he got 268 seats. The Nationalist Movement Party, his natural allies, they got 50 seats. The New Welfare Party of anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist Fatih Erbakan, they got 5 seats, and the
Islamist, an old Islamist party.
Yes, they are all Islamists. Okay, so in short, we can regard them as only one block, and he acquired 323 seats. I also would like to mention here another important or maybe spicy information. Inside AK Party, inside the Justice and Development Party, we have 3 new members of parliament from the Turkish Hizbullah terrorist organization's political party called Free Cause Party. called Hüdapar. Okay, so in the new parliament we have 8 very anti-Semitic, very anti-Zionist members of parliament inside Erdogan's bloc. Okay, this is important. But since Erdogan does not really need them because of his parliamentary majority and the party discipline in Turkey is super strong, so no member of parliament can dare to act independently. Therefore, I do not see any danger for the normalization between Israel and Turkey because it was Erdogan's will, and no one can challenge Erdogan on that issue in his own camp. Okay, so as you can see here, he acquired the parliamentary majority. Here we have the 212 seats for Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's alliance. By the way, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's party relatively weak. In his own party, he provided some places to other parties as well. So when you are seeing 169, it's not accurate. His real number will decrease to 120 because he also has to feed his partners who ran in the elections under his list. Okay, this is very crucial, and these parties are, some of them are Islamists, so we cannot speak about a pure secular bloc here. Okay, he will be very much weakened. And here we have the radical left and the Kurds together. They acquired 65. And when we are calculating it together, as you can see here, we have the exact majority for Mr. Erdogan's party with 323. But as I told you, in the first round, Mr. Erdogan got 49.52%. So according to the Turkish system, in order to be a victorious one, in order to win these elections, you need more than 50% of them. So therefore, we went to the second round of the elections. By the way, I will now show you the map of the second round of the elections, but as you know, Mr. Erdogan is constantly accused of being a dictator. So in this regard, he used this first elections and the second elections as a great excuse to prove that he is not a dictator. He says, I'm not Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. I'm not Bashar al-Assad of Syria. As you can see, I'm receiving 49% of the vote, and I did not try to increase it by force. I'm going to the second round of the elections. And by the way, before going to the second round of the elections, please also look at this map. This is the map that, you know, also the Turkish citizens who are living outside of Turkey, they have the right to vote. And as you can see, in Russia, China, in Eastern Europe, Spain, United Kingdom, United States, Brazil, South Africa, Australia, Israel, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu won the elections, and wherever there are pious Muslims, like in France, Germany, and the whole Middle East, Mr. Erdogan won the elections there. But okay, let us concentrate on the second election, second leg. In the second leg, last Sunday, Mr. Erdogan acquired 52.18% of the vote. As you can see here, it's very small, but I'll tell you, he received 27.8 million votes, and Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu received 25.5 million votes, and the difference between them was 2.3 million votes. Okay, and you can also make a comparison here. As you can see, in the second round, Mr. Erdogan received 52%, And in the first round, he received 49%. And also here we had other two candidates, Mr. Sinan Oğan, who is known as a Turkish nationalist. He declared his allegiance to Mr. Erdogan, but his right hand, Ümit Özdağ, chose Kılıçdaroğlu. So we can basically split Mr. Oğan's 5.17 into two, and that's why we have seen a slight increase in the votes of Erdogan and Kılıçdaroğlu in the second round. So let's look at
just a moment, Chai. I just want to
yes.
to tell our audience that Umit Ozda,
Okay.
who was a friend of mine, he was quoted. He denied it that actually Inbar and Hillel Frisch intervened on behalf of the opposition. And it was
recently, yes, recently there was a YouTube video. They accused our professor Efraim Inbar and another research fellow Hillel Frisch that they had an influence on Sinan Oğan's right hand, Ümit Özdağ, and as a result, Israel intervened in the elections. They pushed Oğan so that Erdogan will not be elected in the first round. Of course, this is a conspiracy theory, but I'm very delighted to work with Efraim because you do not see such conspiracy theories if he was not a remarkable professor in Israel. So let's continue. As you can see here, this is our map. Once again, as very similar to the first round, the coastline where the alcohol consumption and tourism, we have the secular votes once again. In southeast, we have the Kurdish votes, and here we have only like a lonely planet here. This is Tunceli, where the majority of the citizens are of Alevi origin, as I already mentioned. So this is a stronghold of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu. Okay, and here we have Ankara, and here we have Istanbul. But again, as I already told you, the victory was a very slight one. So Mr. Erdogan also buried this unwritten law in the Turkish political history that whoever is getting Ankara and Istanbul will get whole Turkey. And I would like to show you province by province, the most important provinces. As you can see here, if in Istanbul you acquire 48%, you neutralize this unwritten law. And again, in Ankara, he received 48% of the votes, almost 49%. So he again managed to neutralize this unwritten law. In Izmir, he never did well. This is a secular stronghold, okay? And in Bursa, which is considered as another industrial capital of Turkey, as you can see, he led the way. Okay, so these are the most important Turkish provinces for industry and economy. Okay, so economy, as I already told you, is alarming. One US dollar today is equal to 20 Turkish lira, which is something unprecedented. And when we are also looking at the election results that came from outside of Turkey, as you can see, Mr. Erdogan increased his votes in the second round when compared to the first round. And also Kılıçdaroğlu increased it, but not in a significant way. So as you can see, for Erdogan, the votes of the Turks in different countries really played into his hands. This is for the first round, and this is for the second round of the presidential elections. That it's very similar. As you can see, in the Middle East, we have a tiny little red here of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu in Israel. and the rest of the Middle East, and again, Germany and France are voted for Erdogan. You might be impressed that most of the places in the world voted for Kılıçdaroğlu, but here, if we are speaking about the population density, we have to say whoever will control Germany and France will control the whole world. Germany and France is like Istanbul and Ankara of the world in terms of Turkish population density. So Mr. Erdogan did really well in Germany and France in the 2 rounds. And of course, I would like to show you some pictures from the victory celebrations. For the first time ever, unlike the previous election campaigns, Mr. Erdogan chose to celebrate the victory of his election not at the headquarters of his Justice and Development Party that he always did, but this time he opened the gates of his new palace in Ankara, and for the first time he made a demonstration of power, and he highlighted that he is the people's leader and not a dictator. He was elected with a popular vote. As you can see, he is saluting the people from the balcony of his presidential palace. And here another very impressive picture that was taken in the same night. Mr. Erdogan, I assume that he stood on this podium before addressing the audience. Here you can see the monument for the failed coup attempt. I also wanted to show this to you because it's very important that he is also trying to shape the secular religion, if I may tag this. He's trying to make a collective memory, and this monument functions as a collective memory thing. And the last but not the least, these are the countries who greeted Mr. Erdogan's victory before the others. So there is a saying, tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Please look at the states: Russia, Venezuela, Afghanistan, Iran, Azerbaijan, Palestine, Hungary, Qatar, Pakistan, Libya, and Algeria. These are the first states that greeted Mr. Erdogan's victory after the initial results. And I hope that this was informative for you and you could see the impact of the Turkish elections on every province, Istanbul, Ankara, the world. And as you can see here, the voting patterns did not really change. If you like, I can also show you some maps later. If you really like, just tell me if you want or not. The maps of the previous elections, they were like almost copy and paste. So that's why I did not bring it this time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you very much, Efraim, once again for letting me to lecture in this distinguished forum.
So please unmute yourself and you can ask questions if you have.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really, really good presentation. Just wanted to ask two questions. What it means for Turkish Jews and what it means for Kurdish community, potentially a Kurdish state ever, or the conflict there.
Okay. If you like, I'll start from the Kurds and then we'll come to Jews. Okay. As I already mentioned, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu made this alliance with the Kurds, with the Kurdish HDP party. And they wanted to put an end to Erdogan's one-man rule. As you may remember, in 2015, Mr. Erdogan launched an anti-terror operation in southeast Turkey. He almost made a very comprehensive ethnic cleansing against the Kurdish people, and of course with an emphasis on the ones who were armed, the PKK. He could expel them from the country, and then he also launched 3 different extraterritorial military operations in Syria, starting from 2016, 2018, and 2020. And sorry, 2019. Okay, in Syria, in 3 different cantons, and Operation Euphrates Shield, Operation Peace Spring, and Operation I forgot the name of
Olive, something was olive.
Olive Branch. Thank you very much, Olive Branch. As you can see, all of the names are very, very peaceful. Olive Branch, Peace Spring, etc. Because the Turks are always bringing peace to the places that they are occupying. Okay, this is the main idea behind that. So the Kurds really felt that Erdogan is not good for them. Erdogan forged an alliance with the Turkish nationalists. I will show you the map once again so that it would make sense for you. Here in the parliamentary elections, I hope that you see the map. Just a second. Why not? Just a second. Okay, just a second. You see the map, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here you see the MHP party. MHP are the initials for Nationalist Movement Party. Okay, so these guys are nationalists. Okay, and also here we saw Sinan Oğan. Sinan Oğan is a far-right nationalist. At the end of the first round, he declared his loyalty to Mr. Erdogan. Okay, so from their perspective, the current Turkish leadership is extremely nationalist, and they do not like it. And most probably in the next 5 years, we will see more oppression against the Kurdish people. I do not foresee any democratization that could ameliorate, that could improve the current conditions of the Kurdish constituency. Okay, Mr. Erdogan, in order to please the Turkish nationalists, he is delegitimizing the Kurdish political party. He says that they are the shadows of the PKK in the parliament, etc. So their situation, I can tell you, really worse. Another important issue, of course, the Kurds supported Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's alliance. In Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's alliance, once again, I'll show you the map. In Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's alliance here, you have another party called İyi Parti. İyi Parti are the let's say Turkish nationalists who split from the Nationalist Movement Party. So in terms of ideology, they have no difference. Okay, so as you can see, also in the opposition bloc, we have ultra-nationalist Turks. Okay, so the Kurds pretty much are alone. Okay, and they have no any parliamentary power that could bring them something, a remedy, let's say. Okay, so that was for the Kurds. For the Jews, it's an ambivalent answer. The secular governments, they did not like religion at all. So it was very hard for the Jewish community to make repairings or to build a new synagogue, to receive these kind of authorizations was very, very, very hard. Okay, always the Jewish community always had to bribe the central government, the secular officials, to receive such authorizations. But under Mr. Erdogan, it's very ironic. But since we are talking about religion, Mr. Erdogan handled the issue of synagogues and the Jewish community as a matter of religion. And in his own perspective, if the Jews of his land are law-abiding people paying their taxes, according to the Islamic Sharia, let's say if they are paying their jizya, the skull tax, you have to take care of them according to the Islamic religion. And we are seeing the reflection of this Islamic tradition. And under Mr. Erdogan, we are seeing the Jews are experiencing their golden age in terms of repairing their synagogues, receiving any kind of assistance regarding religious services, the construction of the ruined Edirne synagogue, which is considered as one of the biggest one in the Balkans, etc., etc. These are the huge pluses. However, since Erdogan was considered as a foe of Israel, and he sought to delegitimize the state of Israel, so despite enjoying from these kind of services, the life for the Jews in Turkey became extremely difficult because of Erdogan's anti-Israel and anti-Semitic rhetoric against the state of Israel and the Jews in general. And as a result, in the last decade, we began to see a new phenomenon in the Jewish community of Turkey. As you know, our community, Jewish community in Turkey, we are the descendants of the Spanish Inquisition from 1492. That's why in our homes, we heard Ladino, the Judeo-Spanish from our grandfathers, okay, from our grandmothers as well. So recently, during the last decade, the Portuguese government and the Spanish government, they issued a law and they began to provide Spanish and Portuguese passports for those who can prove that they are descendants of the Jews who migrated to and thanks to the documents that could be retrieved from the rabbinate in Istanbul or in other places like in Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, Morocco, etc., you could get a certificate that you are descendant of the Sephardic Jews. And with that document and with additional, of course, documents like criminal record, etc., you could receive the Spanish and Portuguese passports. And as a result, many Turkish Jews received Portuguese and Spanish passports. Some of them, they began to move, especially really weird decision, but they moved to the Netherlands because the tuition fees in the universities are very low there. So there is a new Turkish Jewish community, believe it or not, in Holland, in Amsterdam. Weird, but yes. Also, of course, in Israel, we have a huge aliyah to Israel. I know many people from my childhood that I could never imagine that they will ever come to Israel. Now I see them here in weddings of friends, etc. I'm astonishing every time I'm saying, oh, when did you come? Also, you came here? He said, Erdogan, Erdogan. Okay, so it's very hard for the Turkish Jewish community as well. But now we are in very ironic times. Mr. Erdogan became the architect of the normalization with Israel. And now, despite the critiques from the opposition, it's very weird. Once again, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu threatened Israel during his campaign that he will reopen the Mavi Marmara file. Okay, and as you know, the Mavi Marmara is the Gaza flotilla issue that Israel paid compensation, and in return, Turkey went under commitment that they are not going to sue the Israeli soldiers for conducting the operation. Okay, so Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu during his campaign, he threatened Israel by reopening the file once again, and canceling the agreement, and secondly, during the latest tensions in the Temple Mount approximately a month ago, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu also again tweeted in favor of the Palestinians. And also, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu had two important partners in his alliance. One is the former Turkish Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu. He recently criticized Erdogan for normalizing the relations with Israel. And we had also another important partner of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu, who was Temel Karamollaoğlu. He has a very difficult name for the foreigners. So he wants a total destruction of the relations between Israel and Turkey. So, believe it or not, we are seeing these kind of anti-Israel acts by the opposition, and Mr. Erdogan safeguarding this baby, the normalization between Israel and Turkey, not because of the fact that, not because of he became a Zion lover or he became a Zionist, because he needs hot money gravely from the Gulf. And thanks to the Abraham Accords, the Gulf, when the United Arab Emirates and the Saudi Arabia normalized their relations with Turkey, they had a precondition. They wanted Turkey to make necessary changes in its own foreign policy so that the Turkish foreign policy would not act as an obstacle for the UAE and Saudi Arabia's vision of a prosperous Middle East. And in this regard, Turkey not only mended its fences with Israel, but it also mended fences with Egypt. It is now mending its fences even with Bashar al-Assad. So we see that the Turkish vulnerability in the economy really plays in the hands of Israel, because the Turks have to satisfy the needs of the Gulf. So you may tell me, but Turkey is a member of NATO and a member of Western camp, so why aren't they receiving loans from International Monetary Fund, IMF? Because there is a stigma, there is a prejudice in the Turkish constituency. During the 1990s, the secular governments got loans from the IMF, and the most important slogan of Mr. Erdogan was that he would make Turkey independent again from the impact of the West. So if you're gonna get money from the West, then they will have a right to say on your politics. But if you will get money from Qatar, from United Arab Emirates, from Saudi Arabia, these countries are not pressuring Turkey for democracy, because they are not democracies. Okay, they are not giving any importance to human rights. So what Turkey does, if Turkey cannot pay their loans back to these countries, so suddenly we hear Mr. Erdogan is organizing a new press conference, and there he declares a very gigantic, pharaonic project. For instance, the Istanbul Canal, or the construction of the third bridge, the construction of the third airport. Why is it important? Because prior to declaration of these airports or these projects, he is letting the Qataris and the Saudis and the Emiratis come to those areas, buy those land in a very, very, very cheap price, and then he's declaring the project, and then all of the prices are skyrocketing. So he's paying his debt by selling Turkey in portions and portions and portions to the Qataris. Okay, but he is also providing security to Qatar, and he is also receiving money from Qatar. So it's a win-win situation. I assume that it was. I will stop here, but I hope that it was clear how Turkey places itself with the Middle Eastern countries and with Europe, with the United States. I hope that I could answer your two questions.
You did, yes. Thank you.
What was the turnout? What's the percentage of voters?
89%.
Very high.
It is very, very, very high. It is very high.
Your
Very
map
interesting.
shows clearly that Turkey is divided into three. The Kurdish area, the conservative area, which votes mostly for Erdogan, and the coast, which is more secular and more pro-Western. So we see a very divided country.
Indeed, I'm calling Turkey like a watermelon, that you are cutting the watermelon from the middle, but you will never cut it absolutely 50%, 50%. One slice will be a little thicker. And thanks to that thickness, Mr. Erdogan is ruling the whole watermelon. That's how I call in a metaphor.
So what will be the results, of this, those social and political tensions in the future?
Okay, so many people really hoped that Erdogan will embrace all citizens and will put this fragmented rhetoric to a side. But in the elections night, before departing to Ankara from Istanbul, he made a speech at a very conservative neighborhood in Istanbul called Üsküdar. And there he said, he tagged all of the opposition parties as LGBTQ parties, and which is a very derogatory way of speaking. If you're gonna hear it in Turkish, it's like a swear word, like tagging a party, like homophobia, okay? So it's not a compliment in Turkey to call a person a homo, okay? For instance, I'll give you a very concrete example. If you're gonna go to a football game in Turkey, if you do not like the decision of the referee, the first insult that you're gonna, the first swear word that you will tell to the referee that he is a gay, okay? So this is an insult. There is a derogatory verb. So he says, no LGBTQ members are able to penetrate into our party. We are a party with family values. For us, family is above all. We will not let this LGBTQ people to ruin our country. And all of the other parties are pro-LGBTQ, etc., etc. So the most and the first and the foremost victim of this current elections, I see that the LGBTQ community, they were the scapegoats. And secondly, the Kurds. I think this is the immediate results. I mean, I see that he really likes to get this support from these people thanks to this public tension. If you're gonna look at the social media tweets pro-Erdogan or anti-Erdogan, you will see that it's not an ordinary political discourse. It's like it's like a football discourse, like my team versus your team, and we really hate you, and you really hate us. It's sort of a religion, like, okay, so the Turks of, with Western orientation, they cannot understand the mindset of Erdogan supporters because of the deteriorating Turkish economy, especially, and the mishandling of the Turkish government in the earthquake. But I'll make another metaphor from Israel. May God forbid that we have an earthquake in Jerusalem area, and let's say the very ultra-Orthodox neighborhood called Mea Shearim was partly destroyed, let's say. Okay, may God forbid, once again. After 3 or 4 months, that, let's say, also the Israeli government, the current one, let's say they misfunctioned in Mea Shearim, but then later they began to provide some services. And after 3 or 4 months, we put the ballot boxes there once again. Do you think that they will vote for the Israeli left Meretz party, or will they vote once again for the Shas and Yahadut Torah or other Israeli right or religious parties? Of course, they will vote for religious parties, and they will never vote for the leftist parties. So the logic is the same. That's why all of the earthquake zone, once again, they voted for Erdogan, and these people look at the earthquake as something like force majeure that came from God. Okay, they are not judging it with Western eyes that this is a natural disaster, and in Japan many people survive, but how come in Turkey we do not survive? They are not looking that from this angle. These people are very modest people. They do not have to eat entrecote steak once in a week. If they will eat rice and green lentils and they can survive, and if they can go to the mosque and pray 5 times a day, for them this is sufficient when they are seeing their leader there, who, despite the fact that he is living in a palace, but in Ottoman tradition, that's not weird that our Sultan lives in a palace and we are living in modest homes. So again, they are not criticizing him for living in the palace, because in their eyes, in the traditional Turkish eyes, this is not projecting the power of the president, but this is projecting the power of the state. Okay, this is a property of the state and state tradition. So as a result, long story short, what I want to say here, the Turkish opposition, I think they fail to identify with Mr. Erdogan's nucleus voters, the nucleic voters, his loyal base. If they want to become victorious in this game, the opposition has to steal votes from Mr. Erdogan. But instead of bringing someone who could steal votes from Erdogan's camp, they are bringing someone like Kılıçdaroğlu. Already before this elections, he was defeated 5 times, 3 times in general elections, once in a public referendum, and the one in a general election that he did not run directly, but he supported another candidate. So why didn't they choose a candidate before that, could be successful against Erdogan, or this Alevi thing? I think that was a huge mistake. I really hope that like Barack Obama as a African American was elected in the United States and shook the American state from its roots, that he made their history. But Turkey, despite the fact that it's a secular country, it is considered as the successor state of the Ottoman Empire. and Ottoman Empire was built on the foundations, on the Sunni Islam, okay, and you cannot reject this. That is why, Efraim, I assume that you'll agree with me. That is why we teach the history of the Middle East in the universities. That's why, because you cannot divorce from Sunnah, Shia, Alevi, etc. Yes, liberalism is great. Yes, we have a new world, digital age, etc. Yes, many Turks did vote for an Alevi candidate, but not those who are giving importance to these traditional identities. Okay, so that is why, in order to understand the politics of today, we need to study history more than ever, because if you're gonna divorce from history, you will miscalculate the current, even the current decision-making process. This is, I think, crucial. This is a part of sociology. This is a part of history. And when we are making an analysis, we are not doing it in a superficial way. We are not divorcing from the history. We are taking history, we are taking the current circumstances, we are synthesizing it, and we are taking a healthier picture. That's why I can, if you like, send you my article that was penned before the first round of the elections. I argued that Erdogan is not going anywhere. And many of my friends told me, you are taking a great danger, a very great professional danger, because you are saying something huge, because all of the companies, all of these survey companies are telling the exact opposite. I'm speaking with the Turkish journalists, they are telling me the exact opposite. But I knew it here and I felt it here, that Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu will never get the support of the pious religious Muslims from Central Anatolia, from Eastern Anatolia. It will not happen. And I'm very sad / happy for myself because I made an accurate analysis, but very sad for Turkey that they made this miscalculation and they missed a historic opportunity to get rid of this man.
Greg, you have a question?
No, excellent, excellent, very interesting. I'm very appreciative, very, very good.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? If not, we'll conclude with Shalom from Jerusalem, and we'll see you at another briefing of ours sometime soon.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Shalom to
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.